Okay, so we're going to talk about editing your images so that they view faster on the web. So I use paint.net. It is available only for Windows, but if you are a Mac user, I'd like you to watch it anyway because there's certain settings that you're going to want to use, probably whether you use Canva or my understanding is Mac has 100 ways to edit a photo for faster viewing on the web. The most important is that the pixels, the number of pixels wide, you want it anywhere between 800 and 1,000 pixels. And then the DPI, the 72 DPI. And if you don't have control over the DPI in the program that you're using, I have a little trick that I can show you at the end. So the first little trick here is I'm going to use a picture off of my camera. So I'm going to open a picture of my dog. I'm going to look at the two of them. This is him at work, and I'm going to choose this one. It's a little closer up. And so the first thing that I do is I fix the color, and I crop it to any way that I'd like before I actually put it on the web. And in paint.net there are some limits, but play with the adjustments here. Hue and saturation will help you a little bit to offset some yellow if you're taking interior shots. Levels will help with that as well. I mostly, work with brightness and contrast. So if your picture doesn't fill the screen when you pull it in, that means you probably didn't take it at very high resolution. I do take at very high resolution. You can view it and that little view tab up here, and you can zoom in. Because when I'm working on this brightness and contrast, I like to be as close up as I can. So with brightness, I'm going to pull this up a little, maybe a little bit brighter, but now I'm losing the contrast of the high and low darks. So I'm going to pull contrast up just a tiny bit. I do kind of play with these. I don't want to lose his eyes in the darkness of his fur. You can also kind of manually, if you're kind of an exacting person, you can use these up and down arrows. So I'm going to click OK and keep that the way it is. And then I'm going to use the rectangle key for selecting. So you're going to hold down that plus sign and keep holding down on your mouse and let go when you have selected an area. And then go back up to image and crop it to the selection. So now it's cropped and it's lightened, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to resize the image. And again, under image, resize. Okay, so this is 25.7 megabytes, which actually is not a big picture. This is great. It's already 72 DPI. When you take a picture on your camera, I have one that takes on 300 DPI and one that takes at 72. My phone also takes at 72. So the width and the height are crazy big. So we're going to start by making this 1,000 pixels long, because on a large screen, my website can show about 1,000 pixels across. So I want this picture to be clear on the biggest screen that I imagine it'll be looked at on. So you might want to go to like 600 or 800, but I stay between 800 and 1,000 pixels wide. Forget about the print size. You're not going to be printing something. You've just made this small. So click OK. And now it looks like it's small. It's really not. We're going to zoom in again. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to watermark it. Do I have to? No, I have not in the past watermarked the pictures of my dog at work. However, it has occurred to me that I love my dog, and I use hashtag Wesley Therapy Dog, hashtag Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, hashtag Therapy Dog. There's people who are searching on images to use other places, or he's cute enough to monetize that face. So I want to make sure that I retain the right to own this picture, not the right to own it, but I would like to put my watermark in there so nobody imagines it's theirs. So we haven't really talked about this layer panel here. In paint.net, when you open it, it automatically has layers, and anything you add, open and add will happen on this layer. You can add text or whatever. I don't like to add text and watermarks and stuff directly on this layer because I reserve the right to remove it or move it. So I'm going to, under layers, I'm going to import from file. And when I do this, I'm going to import it into a new layer. And I have a personal watermark. My Amy Salona images, copyright Amy Salona. So I have a copyright image that I use, and I've made it very, very large. Okay, so this is large enough that this would be small. Before I resize this picture, this copyright would be small. So I'm going to, see this little grabber hand here? I'm going to go to the corner and I'm going to hold down my shift key. And holding down shift key allows me to make it smaller while maintaining aspect ratio. Otherwise, if I don't hold down shift key, let's see what happens there, okay? So I can make it, so holding down shift, even after you've started moving it, holding down shift will bring it back to aspect ratio. And because it's its own layer up here, I can move this around and have it be anywhere I like. So I'm going to, I like to overlap the picture a little bit because it's too easy putting it up here to crop that right out of the picture. So I am going to put this where it overlaps the picture. So I kind of chose an image that is large and has a lot of little detail as possible, or as much detail I should say as possible, so that it's harder to crop out every bit of that, just because that's how I am. I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to hit the D, and then that will deselect that area. I don't know why, but I find it annoying that it does that. Anytime you touch a layer and you move it around, it kind of puts this thing around it. So control and then hold down D, or tap D I should say. And now I have my image resized for the web, and I have a watermark that's not too obnoxious. I don't think it is. And then the next thing I'm going to do here is File, and I am going to save it as, I'm going to save it here as Wesley _ therapy _ dog, and then pause for people. Why am I doing that? When you plan out a post, or when I do a post about what it is I'm doing, my keywords for my post are going to be pause for people and therapy dog and Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. And so I am optimizing the post, and I want to optimize this image for Wesley Therapy Dog. So when somebody in the future Google searches Wesley Therapy Dog, his picture will come up. So when you're naming a photo, keep in mind what it is and what you're using it for. And you might want to change it. If I'm doing a blog post and I want to optimize it for a different word, I would change the name of the photo to match the goal of the blog post. So save as PDN. If I save it right now as a PDN, it saves it as an editable file. It's not uploadable, so you can't use this in your WordPress, but I can open it up again and move that watermark out, or I can remove the watermark. Now, once I save it as a PDN, I cannot undo what I have done. I can take a layer out, but I can't go back and make it larger. So I am going to save it as a JPEG because I don't feel like I'm ever going to need the layerable file. But by changing the name, I'm preserving the original picture. I'm not saving it over the original picture. And so the second thing I'm able to do here is, this is where the compression happens. I save my pictures between 30 and 40 for viewing on the web. Okay, so this is 50 KB, and that's actually fine. You can see here in the picture, the lower the quality, the more pixelated that picture looks. So clearly 0 is not necessary, and 100% is not necessary. That's 416 KB. And so you'll want to make sure it's somewhere between 30 and 40. Now, because there is detail, his eyes, I want his eyes to be clear. Depending upon the picture that you're taking, you don't need them to be such a high clarity anyway. You don't need all the way to 40. But because this has some detail, again, of the dog's face and his eyes, I do want to make sure that it's closer to 40. So I'm going to click OK. It'll warn you that the image is going to be flattened, which is fine. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Tiny PNG, and you're going to upload that image that I just did, Wesley Therapy Dog, and run it through and make sure. Okay, so I was able to make that 11% smaller and bring that down to 45 KB, and then you can download that. So you have now compressed that image as best you can, and this is a great program that will compress your image for free and ensure that the quality of the picture will not be lost. But it's the lowest file size that you're pretty much going to get without losing quality. Now, if you're watching this and you're not able to use Paint, I suggest to you that use Canva and watermark it, make it as small as you can, and then take it and drop it in here and then download the final compressed image, because Canva, from what I've seen, it might have compression and just people don't know how to use it. I don't personally use Canva, but I have found it does a really lousy job compressing. So I hope I've impressed upon you the importance of editing a photo before you upload it. That goes, by the way, for stock images. So here in Paint, I can just hit this X here and that closes it. So I want to create something new. And even though it says 96 pixels per inch, I'm going to open a picture here. And this is a stock image that I purchased. So whether you purchase it or you get a free stock image, you're still going to want to optimize it for the web. So I'm going to open the picture. I'm sorry, I've opened the picture. I apologize. I'm going to image and I'm going to resize, and I can see that this picture is 300 dpi. Absolutely not necessary. The width is 1000, which is fine, and I'm going to click OK. Okay, and then save as, and I believe that I already saved this once in another video that I did. So morning meditation, let's put a 2 there, or 3, whatever, and saving it as a JPEG. Okay, again, compression. This image at the lower 30s does not really lose any. Actually, it does pixelating there at 31, isn't it? Okay, so we got 41. It does look a little better. So we are going to save that, and just as a little benefit here, we're going to pull in that morning meditation too and see what kind of compression. 30% compression. That's great. 27 is pretty much close to 30, but that's excellent compression. So that's what you're going to use before you upload. I just want to show you a couple of things. Here's another one of Wesley at work. I have not watermarked this one, but I'm kind of getting back to doing that. This is a personal blog that I have. I buy stock image and I put witticisms in there. So this is, kind of a joke meme. And when I make these kinds of memes, I try to embed my own watermark. This is a watermark I made for Mama's Off Her Meds. It is full color, and I like to see, how far they go and whether they come back. I have not devoted a lot of time to this blog. I've basically created it to share some of the traditions. This is a family tradition of chocolate house making at the holidays, little anecdotes, my baking. It has some of my recipes that I want to share with my kids. So when I buy stock images, I do watermark it just so that, again, if it's going to be out there, it might as well bring traffic back to my blog. I also, I don't know if you've noticed, is when I create these little memes, I use a consistent combination of fonts in them. So that's another thing that will kind of work as my brand, the combination of a very kind of relaxed um, script and a very clear non-serif font. So I have decided that I need to watermark pictures that I take personally of my dog, not so much my recipes, but because there's a lot of people who are, I guess, enthusiasts of the breed, and I don't want my personal blog to become somebody's portfolio of things. And what I mean by that is this is my, oh, I thought I had my blog feed here. I don't. So I thought I had my Instagram feed. I have heard instances where people's Instagram feeds were downloaded and people have monetized someone else's Instagram photos by printing them and reselling them. So that is another reason, if no other reason, that you watermark your photos. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. Get out there and blog.